video challenge. Yesterday was a rambling mess about uh, how to let your muse go crazy. Today, I wanted to talk about the my book of the week. I chose every week on every Wednesday. I choose a book that I think uh, would help anyone. So sometimes they're business books, sometimes they're mindset, personal development books, sometimes they're um, computer writing books, whatever. This week, my book choice is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I read this a while ago, and the subhead is Conquer Your Hidden Fear and Take Life to the Next Level. Um, it was written it's copyrighted 2009, so it's kind of an older book, but it's one of those books that um, makes you realize that we were meant for more. And the way we get more is by making the big leap, by trusting ourselves, by moving forward, and by taking risks and following through, learning from the mistakes, learning from the failures, and moving on and doing something really cool. Um, he taught that in the book, he talks about the upper limit problem that we all tend to limit ourselves. We think that we only go so far, and uh, and I think that's what the big leap is all about. He talks about your zone of genius and how you want to live in your zone of genius. You don't want to settle for your zone of competence. Um, you want to do what you do best, and figuring out what that um, is probably part of the whole journey that we go through as we go through life, is figuring out what our zones of genius are, figuring out what we do best, and figuring out how to incorporate that into our lives. Um, I've done a lot of personal development work in the last couple of years, and uh, this is one of those. This was one of those books that really made a difference for me. It's one that I would recommend going back and reading several times. Don't just read it once and then put it away. Um, there are some books that I just read every year. The Big Leap is one. You Are a Badass at Making Money is another one. I don't read it every year, but it's really good to just sort of refresh yourself with The Artist Way. Um, and and I'm finding more and more books all the time that I want to read more than once. I've actually got a book right now that the author tells you, read this straight through and then go back and read it again, because your first time through is just getting used to the concepts, and then your second time through, you'll know where the author's going and you'll be able to follow along a lot easier, I guess. Um, it reminds me of a quote. I believe it's Mark Twain, that the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. That made me stop for a minute to, like, the day I find, oh, yeah, the day I find out why I was born to begin with. I used to think that I was born to take care of people. Um, my mom was a number one caregiver. I learned from the master. We joke all the time about about martyr syndrome and like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, but I learned how to be a master caregiver from a master, uh, and I think she was probably the biggest teacher for me of how to be mom to my oldest son, who was born 14 weeks too soon and ended up with several different disabilities. And we took care of him for 28 years until he passed in June of 2021. And that's when I questioned. I started to question, why? Why was I born? Why was I put here? I used to think it was to be Evan's mom and Philip's mom and Derek's mom. And now I'm not entirely sure, but I think it has something to do with communicating with people about their value and just being there to remind us that we are worth it. We are worthy. We are enough. We are perfect the way we are. And I'm learning that maybe that's the reason why I'm here now. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but that's what's so fun about this journey is figuring out where I fit in, now. I used to know where I fit in. And now I'm not so sure, but it makes it fun. It makes life interesting and keeps me on my toes. That's for sure. One of the things that I believe is my zone of genius is my ability to write. I can tell a pretty good story. I can write a pretty good story. Let's just say that. I'm not the very best storyteller, but I am a pretty good story writer. So that's how I'm trying to live in my zone of genius, is by using that skill to support other people, whether they're business owners or not, to remind people that everyone has a purpose and we are all on this earth for that specific purpose. That's maybe that goes back to my role as Evan's mom. I don't know, but I think a lot of people would have looked at Evan in a wheelchair, only saying one or two different words and not being able to see and not eating, and would think that his quality of life was really poor. And why was he, he has no purpose, or he had no purpose. And I'm here to say that that's bull crap. He had a very, very definite purpose. And I think he was one of my biggest teachers to help me, to remind me that we all have a purpose and we all live into our zone of genius. And his zone of genius was laughing and getting people together and reminding people that we are all created in the image of the Creator, the great Creator. And it doesn't matter if we are male or female, or wear glasses, or are blind, or can talk or sing or whatever. We are all made in God's image, and that's our purpose here. So I kind of got off into a sermon there. Didn't really mean to do that. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's the way it goes. So I will be back tomorrow. I'm not really quite sure what tomorrow will bring or what I will talk about, but that's what the rest of today is for me to figure that out and come up with a plan. This is getting a little easier. I do this once a week anyway, but doing it every day, 25 days in a row, I hope that by the time we're done, I will have gotten pretty comfortable here in front of the camera. So thank you so much for listening, and I will talk with you tomorrow. Remember, go out, make the big leap, live in your zone of genius. All right, take care.